Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change.
Well, oh, that's awful blinky in the back there. It's gonna give somebody a seizure. Hold on. Oh, that's better. Still a little. Okay, that's okay. We'll leave it on like that. That really blinky one. That was something. Hope you all appreciate the Christmas bunchy we have going on down there. And I got like this weird. Oh, I don't have one of my lights on. Hold on. Because I'm like, what's this weird shadow? Hold on. I got to put one of my studio lights on. Okay, this should be better. This should be better. Yes, that's much better. That was a really weird shadow. It's funny the way the 3-point lighting does it perfectly, but when you're missing one of them, my hair is freaking messy, and I am distracted. So let's do, because I just got off a nap. I am still not feeling well. I am tired, but I promised y'all a show, and here's a show. And then I come in, I see in chat that they're arguing about pizza, but not about whether there's pineapple on it or not. That's Bunchy just does that sometimes. Don't ask me why. And then it fixes itself. But Bunchy's running off to Christmas. So, as I often say, this is probably not going to be a long show, but we shall see. I'm mostly here to see if there's any questions. But before we do, let me do the real YouTuber stuff. And there we go. If you're not subscribed, bad if you're not subscribed, but you should be bad. I mean, you should be subscribed. Not you should be bad. I am so not with it. It's not. I need more dew. I need to wake up. I literally did just get up from a nap. Oh boy. So yes, you should be subscribed, and I would appreciate it if you would like and share. I would totally appreciate it. Also, you can follow me on any of my social medias. I am Karen Ann Harlos on all of them. And Twitter is just, oh, cheesecake. I thought you were discussing pizza. Anyway, Twitter is just glorious right now. So follow me on Twitter if you haven't. I'm pretty close to 10,100 followers on Twitter, so you can help that out. But here, most importantly, if you enjoy the type of content that I do, which is unusual, whether that's good or not is, I suppose, up to the individual's judgment, but I would appreciate your support at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. Okay. I slammed that do a little too fast. Anything else? Yes. One other thing. This isn't a paid sponsorship, but I am promoting for friends of mine this 50th anniversary book of Libertarianism by John Hospers. So it's John Hospers, the Libertarian Party's 50th anniversary and beyond. I kind of wish this book came out a year later, because then it would cover like the Reno Reset and things like that. But this came out beforehand. I have 2 essays in it. A little too short to call them chapters, because it's a book full of essays from various libertarians, allegedly thought leaders. The only reason I say allegedly is because I'm in here. I'm honored to be amongst the company that is in this book. But pick it up and support some old students of John Hospers that are trying to honor his memory. Hello, JJ. I hope you are feeling better. Your voice was... You had quite the husky voice going on last LNC meeting. I am still a bit not right. Well, I mean, I haven't been right for a really long time, but I mean not right from my not right. So we're going to just be doing a quick, or as quick as you guys would like, LNC update. I haven't done one of these in like 3 weeks, but really... not that much has gone on. I mean, it depends, I guess, on who you ask. Well, first of all, our chair has had her baby boy, Arthur. And as she had reported on Facebook, she did have to have a C-section. But this is what a badass Angela is. She was out of the hospital, 4 days? And she was already running a 6-hour-long LNC meeting. So if anyone had any doubts about... the fortitude of that woman, that should put things to rest quite quickly. So we did have an LNC meeting this weekend, so that is mostly what we are going to be covering. Today, is it today or is it tomorrow? What day is today? Is today the 14th? 13th? What is it? Whatever day it happens to be, the 15th is the last day to apply for the awards committee. So if that is something you were considering, go to lp.org, get the application link, because the 15th is the last day. That will be on our agenda for January to fill. And let's see. Oh, I know what I wanted to cover. I mostly wanted to cover the meeting from this weekend, but I wanted to tie up any loose ends from before then. Oh, I want to read this email quickly. Let me see. Oh, God. Okay. So let me pull something up here. And I'm going to share. I guess I don't really need to share my screen. So there's only been one motion since our last update, and it has to do with at least one person in our audience. If there's anybody here from Virginia, it will also have to do with them. So a resolution passed yesterday. I announced the results today, but the deadline was last night. So I'm going to read that aloud, and this passed, and it says, whereas Jonathan M. Jacobs, RPR CPP, has generously donated his professional services to assist the Libertarian Party of Virginia, LPVA, one of our largest affiliates, in a time of distress. Whereas the LPVA just successfully completed its special convention with goodwill and attendance among its members. Be it therefore resolved that the Libertarian National Committee sincerely thanks Mr. Jacobs for his time and assistance in advising the LPVA. Be it further resolved that the Libertarian National Committee thanks and recognizes the hard work of the LPVA members who organized and conducted the December 3rd, 2022 special convention and congratulates the newly elected officers. I see there's a slight typo in there, but I think that's pretty obvious. It was supposed to be officers instead of just officer because they elected multiple new officers. So, JJ, you do have our thanks. I was very happy to sponsor that. You did a lot of work for them, and I really don't know where they would be without you. With me being on the LNC, I can't help as much as I could if I was completely independent. So your assistance was absolutely invaluable. So that has the only motion that has come up on as an email motion since the last LNC meeting, or my last LNC update, which was, I don't know, it's like 2-3 weeks now. But what we did have go on this past Sunday is we had a very long for online, because online meetings could just be tedious. So it was about, 6 hours is exaggerating. We started at 1 Mountain and we ended just after 5 Mountain. So it was almost 6 hours. It was partially an LNC meeting and partially an executive committee meeting. But for me, it all blends into one since I'm on both. So I probably will be sharing my screen. But what this meeting was only about the budget. And I figured some folks might have some questions about the budget. There was a little bit of lively debate. So again, that puts to rest anybody who's like, oh, that LNC, they just all walk in lockstep. No, the reason you don't see a lot of drama on the LNC is not because we agree on everything, because we most certainly don't. And it's not because there's backroom disagreements. That isn't happening. It's that they're just good people rather than terrible people. And when you have good people, you can disagree with goodwill and very little drama. So, as I said, the most dramatic argument we've had this term is where to have our March LNC meeting. And we didn't even have anything anywhere near that dramatic at this past budget meeting. So, I would like to pull up, if you give me 1 second here. I should have had this pulled up already. I am so terrible. Let's see. Agenda. That's where it's at. I attached the proposed budget to the agenda. Now, this proposed budget is slightly different than what was passed. But what was passed, the numbers all work out the same. They were, we can go over the amendments, but the total numbers remain the same. There was some shifting around of making sure monies were in appropriate categories. So even though there were, we'll go over the amendments. Even though there were some amendments, I'd like to share with you, and it is on the LNC list, so you can download it. And the final one, Todd is working on the edits right now. The final one is going to be up on the list as well. But this is your opportunity to ask me questions about it, because I know whenever financials come out, boy, the trolls also come out and the misrepresentations come out. I am like really, really pretty tired of that. So let's share this screen. Oh, I can keep comments up as well. And we will scroll down. I might need to see if I can make this a little bit bigger. I really need to get a new eyeglass contact lens prescription. Let's see. Yeah, we can make that a little bit bigger. So some of these titles had changed. If you're really interested in that, again, we're going to go over it briefly. But you can see it's a balanced budget. We didn't have to argue to get a balanced budget. The draft budget that was passed was a balanced budget with a total revenue of $1,729,000 and same thing in expenses. So completely balanced budget. Now, one thing you'll notice that's different for this year's budget is, and I actually think the number that we budgeted went down by $6,000, and I'll explain why, is that there's a lot less sub-GL lines. GL lines are those numbers you see over to the left, like the one we're looking at the top of the screen. Right now is 4,000, a budget line, GL code 4,000, fundraising and membership. I think GL stands for General Ledger, and then there's some sub-GL codes underneath it. We have a lot less sub-GL codes than we used to have. And Trendlin is correct. There were two, and I'm going to put little c controversies, and that's what we're going to go over, which is one of them had to do with committee budget lines, and they weren't eliminate. Well, I guess it's going to depend upon how you define eliminated, and we're going to talk quite a bit about that because I'd be very interested in what everyone's opinion was. Actually, I'd say there were three little c controversies. One of them just seemed to be a controversy that I bring up every year, so I don't even know if you could call that an LNC controversy because it's my particular hobby horse, and that is LP News. The other one was a committee budget lines, and the third one was mentioning Civi CRM specifically in our budget. So I can pull this up again, but I don't think you guys can really read it that well on the screen when we're doing YouTube. Again, it is on the LNC list. Let me show you where you can find it. At least the draft. Let me show my screen one more time, and let's go here. So if you go to the LNC Business Discuss list, look for the email dated December 3rd that says agenda for December 11th, 2022 meeting. You'll see there's two attachments. One is the agenda and one is that draft budget. And let me pull that budget up one more time. Where I said that I think the budget got reduced by $6,000. It was because of this line 4,500 here, bequests of $6,000. That's an anticipated income. That's about what we get, on average. But it turns out that, we're supposed to follow GAAP, GAAP, which is generally accepted accounting procedures, or policies. Keep forgetting what the P stands for. And GAAP does not allow for anticipating bequests. So we did eliminate that budget line. So we shall see. And by the way, if you're wondering what that's all about, principles, you're correct, Trundle, and I'm really not 100% sharp today. If you're wondering what that's about, you can leave a gift to the Libertarian Party in your will. In fact, I have them and as a beneficiary on my life insurance policy. If, God forbid, Wayne and I go at the same time. We don't have kids, so on whatever, I have a tiny life insurance policy, but I said to Robert Krause, don't get any ideas about offing both of us. You're not going to get that much money. But again, it's called being a legacy libertarian, and you could leave a gift to the party in your will. And that's what the bequest line is. We have gotten very generous bequests before. We had to actually sue the FEC because we had gotten a bequest. I can't remember the entire amount. It was over $100,000, but we were only allowed to draw from it the maximum donation amount for an individual for each year. And the lawsuit's actually very interesting. And the purpose of donation limits for individuals is because so that a person doesn't influence an election or a party, or, it's to stop political corruption. But can a dead person have that kind of influence? Well, we ended up winning that case. The opinion actually, though, is sad, and just like it's sad because I should pull up the opinion. If we can't laugh at ourselves, who can we laugh at? And hopefully one day this won't be true. But basically in the opinion, I'm paraphrasing, the judge had said, A, dead people don't influence anything, and B, the Libertarian Party's not winning anything anyway, so who cares? That second part is sad. But we ended up winning that case. And we're able to draw down that entire bequest. One day we'll have to go over that opinion. I mean, the legal principles behind it are actually really interesting. And one of the attorneys I'm working for now, who's a constitutional law attorney, she said to me the other day, hey, I just read a case where you guys sued the FEC. I'm like, oh no, I know that case. She goes, I figured you would. I need a sip of, I need some caffeine. So that's why the bequest line was eliminated. Now, let's put to bed some rumors. That is not a reduced budget. That is a very, very healthy budget. Of course, anyone could write a budget for $10 million and, have a balanced budget. But if it's not realistic, of course, in our policy manual has certain policies how you can only budget over 20% over a certain historical time period and things like that. But I'm speaking facetiously. So no, we have a very, very healthy budget. We've got a very healthy reserve in place as well. But let's put to bed some other rumors. Because as many of you know, there have been some staff whose contracts were not renewed. As you all should probably know, I cannot discuss the details of that. That is private between the LNC and the contractor. Legal reasons, NDA reasons, just basic decency reasons. So I'm not going to be discussing reasons. Every LNC has to make difficult decisions. Each new chair has different visions on party structure. And a lot of things that are going on have to do with some restructuring of staff. That happens all the time. One of the things JBH did out of the blue, and if I remember correctly, I don't even think the LNC had heads up on it. I'm sure the EPCC did, is when he fired Dan Fishman. Well, fired's not the right word. He non-renewed the contract of Dan Fishman, or terminated the contract early. I don't want to say fired because there was no performance issues or anything like that. As far as JBH's rationale was, he just had a different vision. When Nick Sarwark was chair, here's something that's funny. There were people causing all kinds of upset on Twitter going, oh my God, I can't believe we don't have a political director. Why did Mises do this? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we did have a political director. Guess who decided to eliminate that position? It wasn't the Mises Caucus LNC. It was Nick Sarwark. And I'm not criticizing him for that. That was his vision. He set things up differently. It's just decisions that are made. But for everybody who was getting their knickers all up in their butt cracks over not having a political director, you are aiming your ire in the wrong direction. Because Carla Howell was our political director, and her contract was non-renewed in, 2019, I think it was. Again, these are just decisions that get made. So, one thing you'll notice about the budget is there's a healthy budget for staff. Yes, the staff whose contract was non-renewed is going to be replaced. Maybe not one for one, because there are different positions, again, a different structure. I think there's also going to be shorter term contracts so that evaluations can be done, results-based evaluations, and so that there is not so much emotion and drama if a contract gets non-renewed. When you have, shorter contracts, which are really driven upon metrics. So, there was one staff addition, a contractor made public, and it's through, I believe, February is the contract, and it's for a chief technical officer to go over a lot of our IT infrastructure. And it's something that had really been sorely needed in our party to streamline a lot of things that are going on. So everyone who was so upset thinking we weren't going to have this, that, or the other thing, yes, we are. Just trying to find the right people to put into the right places, and all of that will become public in due time. So, no, there wasn't a major cutback in staff. Reality. We have found ways to make staff more efficient and to cut costs, which should always be a goal. Not because you can't afford it, but because healthy organizations find ways to run in the most streamlined way possible. So that's a anticipated controversy, manufactured controversy, I would say, that we are putting to rest. So let's get to the small c. Ooh, and look, I got a C on my shirt. So, hey, the small c controversies. First one is that there wasn't a specific line item for LP News. This is my particular hobby horse. I do not buy into the proposition that we should get rid of a paper newsletter. I have always seen evidence, and maybe it's becoming less and less true, that producing a paper newsletter still brings in more money than it costs. Because our older members, our older, longer-term members, like paper still. They're not Gen Xers. They're not Gen Zers. They're not millennials. They are our boomers. And they still like paper. And our older, longer-term members are the ones who give bigger gifts to the party. And part of the benefit of membership is the option to have a paper newsletter. And I fight tooth and nail not to have that eliminated. That will be the subject at a future meeting, to have a commitment as to some paper editions of LP News. I do believe people should be able to opt out of the paper if you don't want it. But that is a benefit of membership that I will fight for. But this isn't new to this LNC. I've been fighting this LP News battle since 2016. Go to every budget meeting and you will see me losing my shit over LP News. LP News. So I was getting confused. And Joshua, I absolutely agree with you. In Colorado, when we put back out our paper newsletter, we got in more donations and more members, because people not only read it themselves, they leave it at their doctor's office, whatever. It is great, great outreach. And then you take the extra copies and you put them at your outreach booth. And it's now unusual to get a paper newsletter. It doesn't get lost in with a bunch of junk mail, because junk mail just isn't a thing anymore. So to get this really nicely produced paper newsletter is making you stand out. It's funny, what's old is now new and cool and innovative, and I am going to continue to fight for a paper newsletter. I might lose it, and okay, you win some, you lose some, but that is certainly something that I feel very, very strongly about. And I can tell you something I don't like that happens. It's not just this party, it's in any membership-driven group where we seem to worship at the altar of youth as if our older members are not as important as our younger members. All of our members are important. All of our members are important. And I don't like to, we need younger members. No, we need members. I don't care how old you are or how young you are. We need members. And we need to try to find a way where everyone can get what they want. And if the younger members, and I don't believe all younger members don't want paper newsletters. I do believe it's probably the majority of them. But, and if our younger members don't want it, they should be able to opt out of the paper newsletter. But the older members who want it, people need to get something for their $25. We used to put out LP News 12 times a year. Now we're lucky if we get 2. I'd love to see, like, when it gets sent out digitally, what the open rate is on it. I really would like to see those statistics. Yeah, I get a little bit ass mad about LP News, but anyone who's been on an LNC with me will tell you this is not new. It is not new. Because when the LNC before used to have unbalanced budgets, what would they go pillage to balance the budget? LP News, every single time. So, but I just realized in working with the Policy Manual Committee that we're going to need to do a Policy Manual amendment or pass a resolution. Because right now, with the vote threshold that the budget passed, we implicitly suspended the rules to not have a line for LP News. But our policy manual right now requires us to have a budget line for LP News. I did not realize that. I didn't remember that at Sunday's meeting, or I would have pulled that out of my hip pocket. But anyway, we're either going to have to add a budget line for LP News, which is my druthers, or we're going to have to amend the policy manual. So, I speaking with Todd offline about this, sent him to the appropriate portions of the policy manual, because I do think with the way we're structuring our budget now, and if it's in line with GAAP, we need to get our policy manual in line with that. The other small c controversy was again about budget lines for committees. This got postponed to the January meeting. We don't have very many committees that have a standing budget, that are empowered committees that have a standing budget. The 2 that we've typically had is the Affiliate Support Committee and the Historical Preservation Committee. The Historical Preservation Committee's budget has $2,500. I mean, very, very modest, and we always raise that money before we spend it. So the way our older budgets would be is there would be a fundraising line that was entitled Historical Preservation Committee, and then there was an expense line, and they zeroed each other out. What they've done now is just taken that money and put it into like general fundraising. And I just absolutely do not agree with that, because that means we don't have a dedicated budget line. And technically, absent a resolution or some kind of proviso, and maybe the way to handle this is by proviso, because I know Todd really just doesn't want a bunch of sub-GL lines. And if that's really just, if we're messing up his vision of a very neat and tidy budget, I don't mind doing it through provisos. But the Affiliate Support Committee and the Historical Preservation Committee need their budget line so they know what they can spend without having to run to the LNC to pass a motion. If we want to, if we've got some kind of big reproduction job that's like $1,000 on the Historical Preservation Committee, that means we raised it, because we have people who earmark their dues to the Historical Preservation Committee. I have a $25 a month recurring donation that is earmarked to the Historical Preservation Committee. We shouldn't have to run to the LNC to have a motion passed for that, because we're raising that money for that. Now, I don't know if the Affiliate Support Committee is willing to make the same kind of commitment. They were asking for significantly more. I think perhaps Pat Ford needs to adjust that down. But I think by all of a suddenly eliminating the budget lines for these committees does two things. A future LNC could just hate the Historical Preservation Committee, which there has been ones who have, and might go, well, you get no budget because there wasn't one in last year's. And I don't like the precedent that sets. It's a horrible precedent. I forgot what. Oh, and two, it's fundamentally changing the authority of those committees, because these are empowered committees that are supposed to have a dedicated budget line. Joshua, you'll need to bring that up to Angela. I don't know if on, hold on one second. I want to look on, to me, any budget line that if you go to lp.org, you can give an earmark donation to should have its own budget line. So let me look, donate to a specific cause. Yeah, candidate support is one of the possible earmarks. So there should be a dedicated line for candidate support. Even if that line right now is 0 and we increase it as we donate money for it. But anything that you can earmark to needs its own budget line. So that's going to be at the January meeting. We were just running out of time, so we didn't get an opportunity to resolve this. I moved to postpone it to January. Everyone was getting a bit cranky. We had to get to an executive committee meeting, so that got postponed. I think Pat was asking for a bit too much for affiliate support. Now, if you raise it, great, you get to spend it. If the Historical Preservation Committee raised $10,000, we get to spend it. But, you know, we usually have a very, very modest budget. So that is small C controversy number 2. And I'm waiting to see if there's any questions on that one. Okay. The last small C controversy was Dustin, Nana, and I felt very, very strongly that the states that really, really believe in CiviCRM, and I am somebody on the LNC who really, really believes in CiviCRM, needed to have an assurance that CiviCRM was being funded in this budget. It was unfortunate that they need that assurance because it was from rumors that the LNC had made a decision to ditch CiviCRM. And I'll say it again, the LNC made no such decision. Anyone who was publicly saying that was lying. They were absolutely lying. No such decision had been made by the LNC. Trendlin, I'm not sure what you mean by explain by that. So let me try to guess, and you'll let me know if I'm doing what you asked. There were certain budget lines for like IT services or staff for IT. But Dustin and I thought it important that the budget not just say general IT services, but have a specific budget line that said CRM support or something or CRM Civi CRM, not just CRM, Civi CRM development or something to that point, so that states could see that this LNC knew that it had to develop and fund Civi CRM because of these absolutely false rumors. The LNC's never made a decision to ditch Civi CRM. Now, I'm not going to lie, there are some LNC members that don't like Civi CRM. Do I think it's the majority? No, but we've never had any kind of vote on that because, let me explain to you something. Even though the members of a body change of the LNC, we are still bound by motions that have continuing effect that were made by prior LNCs. Everything doesn't get reset to zero when a new LNC gets elected. There are motions from multiple LNCs ago that still have continuing effect, that are still binding on future LNCs until they're rescinded or amended. The policy manual is one such example. Those were special rules of order put in effect that still have continuing effect. So when we took on the Civi CRM project, there have been multiple motions over multiple LNCs that have continuing effect of our dedication to Civi CRM. And getting rid of Civi CRM is not something that can be done in secret. It's not a decision that can be made by staff. It would have to be an open LNC vote. So stop believing these rumors. If you want to just say there's some LNC members that aren't crazy about Civi CRM, and if it were up to them, they would replace it, that's probably true. That's been true on every LNC. But the fact is, what people's personal opinion is doesn't matter. What the LNC does is what matters. My personal opinion is that we should put out LP News 12 times a year. That ain't going to happen. My personal opinion has no bearing on what the LNC's decision is. I am but one vote. So, hopefully I put that to rest, at least with this explanation, that ditching Civi CRM is not something that can be done in secret by staff and behind closed doors. It would have to be a public motion of the LNC. And shame on anybody who's claiming that the LNC has already made that decision. That's not possible. Not only would that not be possible, so not only are you just gossiping, you actually are accusing the LNC of doing something illegal. Let me explain. We are incorporated in DC. DC law has certain duties that the directors and officers have to the corporation. And making secret decisions, wink, wink, and not telling the members would be a gross violation of our duties and contrary to DC law. So before you start making accusations like that, think twice. Because you are libeling people or slandering them, depending upon whether it's in writing or in verbal. But no such decision has been made. Can I promise that no such decision will ever be made? I can't promise anything. I don't have a crystal ball. I can promise you that absent some new influx of data, I'm never voting for that. But as I said, there was a caveat there. Like, you never know what could happen tomorrow. Like, there could be some, fatal bug discovered in the open source that could, compromise everyone's data. Well, I certainly wouldn't go down with a sinking ship like that. But all things being equal, things continuing as they are, no, I am dedicated to Civi CRM. We have to have a CRM. We don't... Let me tell you some reasons why I am super in support of it. A, we can't get whiplash with every LNC changing our fundamental lifeblood of a political party, which is data. But number two, as this world becomes more and more authoritarian, we will become more and more susceptible to being canceled. Do we really want our data in the hands of some big big tech corporation that can just cancel us and leave us high and dry and starting from scratch. No. We want to own our database, not just our data, but the programming that's used for it. So it makes us, nobody is uncancelable, but it makes us, a lot more difficult to cancel. And that is a very, very real consideration. Now, I know some people say they don't like Civi CRM. Most people who say that just say that, and they don't give like concrete examples of why and how, because we can improve it. Now, Colorado just did give a list of some things that they don't like, and they will be addressed. But if you go, oh, it's difficult to use, all CRMs have a learning curve. Anyone who tells me that Civi CRM is ugly, clunky, and difficult to use, I'm like saying that the sun is yellow and hot. All databases are ugly, clunky, and difficult to use. They all have a learning curve. That's just the nature of databases. They are one of the most unsexy pieces of software on the planet. We used to use Nation Builder, which is a very expensive proprietary product in Colorado. And I will tell you, it was ugly, clunky, and difficult to use. And we paid $4,200 a year for the pleasure of it. I don't know about you, but I like the fact that Colorado gets to save $4,200 a year, and that this is something that was taken on by the National Party. So all of that went off on a little bit of a rant there, but we didn't want to mess up Todd's beautiful GL codes. So there is not in the actual GL code budget a line that says Civi CRM, but what there is for the contractor allotted time. Certain IT contractors allotted time. There's a budget line item of $80,000, and a proviso was added to it that says this is intended for support of Civi CRM, and that did what Dustin and I wanted to do. Now, if that doesn't stop people from gossiping, nothing is going to stop them from gossiping. We are doing these things for people of good faith. There's nothing you can do to stop people of bad faith from being in bad faith. So hopefully that answered that. And I think that was pretty much, we had an executive session about potential legal actions in New Mexico. No decision has been made. Can't talk about what went on in executive session. When a official decision, authorization, well, I can't even say has been made, it'll be made in an open session. But I'll remind people that a decision had already been publicly made. In the motion to disaffiliate the former New Mexico affiliate, the LNC instructed the executive committee to, I should find the wording of that motion. I don't want to misstate it. I'm just going to paraphrase it because I don't want to be searching through motions. But it was something to the extent of that the executive committee was directed by the LNC to take whatever legal remedies necessary to protect our trademark in New Mexico. So there already has been some authorization. The exact strategy and route that's going to look like, that hasn't been yet the subject of a motion. But it's there already has been public motions on this, so people are acting like this is some huge surprise. It's like you haven't been paying attention. And I think that's it. We are spreading out our ballot access expenses over the next two budgets because we can do some petitioning in 2023, but a lot of it has to wait till 2024. So I'm going to give it a few minutes, see if there's any questions. Maybe do a little bit more grifting while we're waiting. Is this the right thing? Nope, that is, where's my patron thing? Is this it? Yes. So again, if you like this kind of detailed inside baseball type of stuff that you're really not getting anywhere else, once again, I do say, give me a Christmas present by becoming one of my patrons at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. And I remind everyone, if you are a Amazon Prime subscriber, you get to gift each month a subscription. On Twitch, subscribers are paid. That's the way it works there. They use followers for what YouTube kind of uses for subscribers. But you get to gift a monthly subscription to a Twitch streamer of your choice that comes free with your Amazon Prime membership. It doesn't cost you a thing. So I'd really appreciate it if you'd go sign into Twitch if you're an Amazon Prime user and you haven't gifted it to somebody else, that you go in and gift me a month subscription. Now, unfortunately, Amazon doesn't allow you to have it keep renewing. So if you would like to continue to support me, you have to go in and do that each month. But even if you just do it for 1 month, I am super, super grateful. And you might as well use that benefit because it comes with your subscription. Why let Amazon keep that money? Might as well send it out into the libertarian community. So would truly appreciate it if you would do that if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber. One more swig of soda, and that's probably going to be it for this evening. Show was a little bit longer than I thought. I thought it was only going to be a half hour, but it turned out to be an hour. Discussing budgets can be a little complicated. All right, y'all. I do hope to stream tomorrow. It'll probably be a history show. A lot depends upon how I feel. That real just weird sickness I had last week took a lot out of me, and I am not recovering. I'm getting older, folks. I'm getting older. I'm not recovering as fast as I would have hoped. But, each day's a little bit better and better. Okay. I'm going to wish you all a good night. Bye-bye.
Given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.